In this video, I'm going to teach you how to multiply radicals together. And the good thing is that there's a property. And I'll just show you quickly what the property is. If we have the square root of a times the square root of b, this says that if they're both in the square roots and they're being multiplied together, you can actually combine it into one square root and multiply a and b together. And that says, so basically, if you have two square roots and they're being multiplied together, multiply the insides of the square roots together and just put it under one square root. This is how it works out in examples. And I'm just going to continue because it's the same day of notes, just a different concept in it. So it's really number 7. And we're going to have the square root of 8 times the square root of 12. And according to this property, this says that, hey, they're both in square roots, so we can actually multiply 8 times 12 together and put it under one square root. And 8 times 12 is 96. But then after this, we need to do what we learned in the last video. So don't just leave it like this. Now we need to simplify it, so we're going to create a factor tree for 96. So pretty much it's the same thing. We can combine two radicals being multiplied together today. So we're breaking it down. We have 332, 216, 4 times 4 is 16. So we're still breaking it down, but 4 is not prime, so we go 2 and 2, and 2 and 2. And again, just like before, any of the numbers that are not prime, we cannot use. But we start pairing them up. Oh, these two 2's can go on a date. These two 2's can go on a date. But, 3 and the 2, they're not exactly the same, so they don't get to. So we had a 2 pulled out and a 2 pulled out. And remember, if they're both being pulled out, you multiply them together. So 4 actually gets to come out of the square root. But then inside the square root, we have the 3 and the 2. And again, you multiply those two numbers together to get 6. Now this is as simplified as it can possibly go, and that is your answer. To practice multiplying a little bit more, I want to show you another example like this one. So number 8 is the square root of 12 times the square root of 32. And again, if they're being multiplied together, you can combine them into one and just multiply 12 times 32, which is 384. So you have 384, and you start breaking it down. You might want to, it's whatever you see, but like I see 12 and 32. Just to get it started off a little bit bigger. So 12 is 2 times 6. 2 is a prime number, but 6 is not, so we have to go further. And we get 2 and 3. Now those are prime numbers, but we have to deal with the 32 yet. So we get 2 and 16. 16 I always see to break down as to 4 and 4, which is 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Remember, all the ones that are not prime numbers have no consideration, they don't matter. We factored the 384 into prime numbers. And we start circling pairs. So these two 2's can go on a date. These two 2's can go on a date. These 2's can go on a date. And then it looks like we only have the 3 and the 2 left, so those cannot go on dates. The ones that we circled as pairs can come out, so 2 times 2 times 2 gives us 8 on the outside. But this poor 3 and this poor 2, they do not have dates, so they're both stuck together in the square root, and you multiply the 3 times the 2 to get 6, and that's as factored down as you can go. There's only one more type of example that I want to show you, and that's when there's numbers also on the outside when you're multiplying. So how about for number 9 is 3 square root of 6 times 2 square root of 8. What you do is multiply the two outside numbers together. So you can't mix inside and outside the square roots, but outside times outside. 3 times 2 is 6. And inside the square roots, just like before, you can multiply them. So 6 times 8 equals 48. And you're not done. Don't stop here. You have to simplify it because 48 can be broken down. And we can break it down into 2 and 24. 2, 12, 2, 6, 2, 3, and we finally have all prime numbers. So we start circling pairs. There's two 2's here, there's two 2's here, But, oh, poor 3 is stuck in the square root. So a 2 and a 2 can pull out. And remember, the key word today is multiply, so we multiply those two together. But there's also this 6 out here that's being multiplied, and we have to deal with that. So we do pull out the 4, but there's still implied multiplication right there. So we'll have to multiply the 6 and the 4 together in a second. And the only number that didn't have a date and got stuck in square root jails are 3. And to finish it off, we have to do 6 times 4 is 24, and we just have the square root of 3. And that is your final answer.